Hello, everyone. It's time for Vanishing Outland Stories, the podcast. I'm your host, Pete Costanis. This is episode 436, season 18. Today's date is May 24th, 2025, and welcome to the show. On today's program, I'm going to talk about a restaurant that goes back, way back. It was called Igler's Casino Restaurant, and it's famous for their singing waiters. And I found an article in the Chicago Tribune that explains its history, and there's some items on the menu, and I'll explain all that to you. Also, I'll do a tribute to actor George Wendt. He just passed away this week, and I will tell you my memories of watching him on television. I don't know if I saw him in the movies. Not really, no, but mostly TV. Before I get started, the program will go into a commercial break. And this program is brought to you by Jell-O Whip and Chill. And here's a commercial from 1968. We go way back in the 60s. And once the commercial is played, I'll explain about Whip and Chill, and I'll talk about the rest of the show. Okay? So sit back and relax. Let's go back to almost 60 years ago for the commercial for Whip and Chill from 1968. Thank you.
Mr. Big Dessert. That's you, right, Ralph?
That's how good it tastes. Sweet, creamy Whip and Chill.
Can't leave him alone, can you, Ralph?
But Whip and Chill is light, too. So indulge yourself. And never feel you shouldn't have. Whip and Chill, the unstuffy dessert that even your conscience will like.
Okay, everyone, I am back. I hope you enjoyed the commercial for Whip and Chill. Back in episode 434, I talked about the discontinued Jell-O products of the 1970s, like, for example, 1, 2, 3 and Soft Swirl. There was other ones I just found out yesterday. I remember a commercial. They advertised for Jell-O golden egg custard, tapioca pudding, and rice pudding. And I remember that. I can't find the commercial on YouTube, but I remember those. So I don't know if they still make those three. Maybe. I don't know. I have no idea. But I never tried the golden egg custard. I've heard it's wonderful. Rice pudding I love, especially my mother's. It's delicious. Greeks are famous for that. Tapioca pudding, I never had the opportunity to try it. I like to try it, and I heard it's very good. It's like vanilla flavor, like that. Next time if I go to a restaurant, if it's on the menu, I'll give it a go. See how that tastes like. Okay. As for Whip and Chill, that's been around since the 50s. It looks like pudding. It looks like a richer pudding. I could be wrong. I don't know. I can't find the comparisons. Is Whip and Chill like Jell-O chocolate pudding? Jell-O pudding and pie filling? I think there's a difference. I don't know like that because I never tried it. I showed it to my mother, and do you remember this product, the Whip and Chill? She goes, not really. But she used to buy Jell-O pudding. She made us when we were kids in the 70s. That was awesome. All kinds of flavors, chocolate fudge, chocolate vanilla, pistachio, butterscotch. I can't think of what else. And so Whip and Chill, that lasted about maybe late 60s, maybe early 70s, and then they got rid of it. During the 60s, they had recipe books out, and you can create your desserts with that. Sounds delicious. I think I saw a couple of them on eBay. I'm curious to buy one. I don't know why. I just want to see what it looked like. What those recipes are, because I don't know. I'm fascinated with old recipes from the bygone days. So most were terrible. Some were not so bad. But they were very creative. Very creative indeed. Anyway, so that's it for that. All right, so in the beginning of the program, I'm going to talk about the Igler's Casino Restaurant. That was located on the north side of Chicago. And also I'll do my tribute to actor George Wendt. This week, what's going on? Health-wise, I'm okay. Nothing's happening. Next Thursday, I'll be going to my urologist and do a checkup of my operation I had like a month ago. See how that goes. And I won't go for my next chemotherapy till June 9th. I got time. And this week I met a nice young man. His name is Ryan Hoppy. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Forgot to ask him. He came to town. He lives in Tampa. He has his own radio station, his own podcast, and he used to work here. We had a nice chat. You can see pictures of us on my socials. He's a very nice guy. I like him a lot. He's very tall, but he's a very sweet kid. He really is, and he enjoyed talking to me, and I enjoyed talking to him. We had a nice lunch. That was wonderful. Okay. Right now, I'm going to talk about Matt Igler's Casino. Okay, so where do we go? Here we are. Now, this was a German restaurant, and that was located at 1629 West Melrose Avenue in Chicago. I think the Lakeview area, I believe. That's like near Ashland. And when I was a kid, I used to hear about this place. I don't know why. People mentioned it, and it was. Let's see. According to the Chicago Tribune, that was dated April 20th, 1967. It was founded in 1923, and Matt Igler opened a small bar and restaurant, and it only specialized in German cuisine. I don't know if he was born in Germany or here. I have no idea. And at the time, it was a predominantly German neighborhood, and then it grew and grew and grew, and they expanded and it got popular. Then, when Matt Igler retired in 1951, his nephew Matt Pimperl. I think that's how you pronounce his name. It's Pimperl. Took over the restaurant, and he did a great job of that. And then, so he ran it with his wife Loretta and his son Matt Jr. And he was the maitre d' of the restaurant. And the ambiance of the restaurant was very warm. It was very friendly. It's like you taking back to Germany. That's how it is. Also, the charm of this restaurant was the singing waiters. And they were a group of talented men who only not served your food, but they also did a toe-tapping swinging show. So it's hilarious. And so they did that, and then they dressed up in lederhoses and German outfits. And I wish I was there to see that. I would have enjoyed it. I really would. Sounds like fun. Of course, when you go to a Greek restaurant, they would have a band or a singer, a guy playing a bouzouki, ding 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 ding, that thing, or the clarinet, like that thing. Sorry about that. And but anyway, so they did this for a long time, with the later like the lederhosen they were, and it was Bavarian costumes like that. So they were accompanied by an organist, and her name was Edna Sellers at the organ, and the guy who was at the piano and organ were Basil Crystal Burns and Phil Werner, and they would play during intervals between shows like that, and it was open 7 nights a week. Excuse me. And they would perform, I don't know if they perform mostly German songs, probably like that. The decor of the restaurant, they had red checkered tablecloths, and They had a lounge. You can enjoy a nice cocktail or a nice cold glass of imported German draft beer. You can have that. And the booths were red leather, and you can, have a snack if you like. As for the cuisine, mostly it was Bavarian. They had entrees called Casino Sauerbraten. That was with potato pancake or spätzle. I don't know how to say. They had Wiener Schnitzel, a la Holstein. That's a breaded veal cutlet with fried egg and tomato sauce. Oh, that sounds good. And also Zegener goulash, Frank List with spätzle. And they had a pork shank with sauerkraut, liver dumpling, half-roast young Long Island duckling. They had American food. They had steak, chops, turkey, chicken, French fried shrimp, deep sea scallops, broiled Lake Superior lake trout, roast prime rib of beef, if you like. I don't know if they had lunch. I don't know if they served lunch. They had dinner there, for sure. They had all kinds of wine, if you like, not just German. They had Swiss, Austrian, French, Latin. They had that. And, yes, they had lunch over there. I'm sorry. They did serve lunch, and it was pretty big. They served with soup or juice, if you like. Featured American German dishes. I don't know if they had strudel for dessert. That sounds great. I would love that. Yeah. And also they had a room if you were planning to have a wedding. They had they had a banquet hall. So if you wanted to, if you got married, you come down to reception. It accommodated about 100 people. With a Greek wedding, you get more. And I think the telephone number at the time was Wellington 5-2000. Okay. So that was fascinating. Yeah, that sounded like fun. So it closed about the mid-90s, I believe. Something like that. Could be earlier, or is it mid-80s or mid-90s? I don't know when it closed. I'm not sure. So maybe I can find information, but I don't know what's there now. Probably nothing. Maybe I could look it up. So while I'm talking, while I look this up, I'll keep talking. So, there are not many very German restaurants. There was the Golden Ox, and I'm trying to think. That's the one I can't pronounce is Zoom. You know what I'm talking about? That was located at Southport near Lincoln Avenue, right over there. Someone asked me, "Can you talk about this place someday?" And I said, "Yeah. Once I knew how to pronounce it, I will do that." So yeah, I will do that. So let's see what's else. So I got the map. There's nothing there. Nothing really. So Lakeview Avenue has changed somewhat. So I think it was torn down. I think I'm not sure. So because the area got gentrified and it got expensive, so maybe that's the reason why they closed, or maybe the owner died or retired. I don't know. Okay. So it sounds like a wonderful place. It really does. It really is. Excuse me. Okay. All right. Right now, I'm going to play a commercial with George Wendt. I found this on YouTube. It is for Old Chicago. That is the indoor amusement park. This is from 1978, courtesy of Rick Klein from Fuzzy Memories TV. It's the museum of broadcasting. I always forget the title. I'm sorry, Rick. But George Wendt did a lot of commercials before Cheers. He did a few during Cheers and after. I'm sure he did that. Okay. So here is George Wendt in a 1978 commercial for the Old Chicago Indoor Amusement Park. So sit back and relax. Let's go back to the late 70s. And then when I come back, I will talk about George Wendt. Thank you.
Old Chicago's great A family can still afford to be a family.
So have an old Chicago day.
And this weekend, don't miss Old Chicago's Oktoberfest Carnival Party.
Okay, everyone, I'm back. I hope you enjoyed the commercial for Old Chicago Indoor Amusement Park that featured George Wendt from 1978. I've talked about Old Chicago in a couple podcasts previously. Either you liked it or you hated it back then, but it was very innovative and one of its kind, and it didn't last very long. That was located in Bolingbrook, Illinois. The address is 555 South Bolingbrook. Opened in June 17th, 1975, and then it was closed March 17th, 1980. So it ran for 5 years. Then they demolished it about 6 years later. It was gone. So the owner of the Old Chicago Amusement Park, his name was Robert Brindle. That was his name. When it opened, it took off, and then it had over 15,000 visitors on opening day, and it had roller coasters. They had a Ferris wheel, and they had a turn of the century themed shopping mall. I think according to sources, the reason some of it, like the attendance declined, because they opened Marriott's Great America in 1976 up in Gurnee, Illinois. And that probably hurt. And there was, they had a lack of large anchor stores. So they just had like mom and pop stores like that. I know they had pinball machines. They had games like skee ball and all that. Then they closed sometimes Mondays and Tuesdays. And then the rides, and then about 1980, all the rides were sold. I don't know what happened to them. Did they dismantle them or throw them away, or they went to other parks? I don't know. I wish I knew. Robert Brindle got the idea from Knott's Berry Farm. That's what he got from Buena Park, California. That's where he got the idea, like that. Okay. Believe it or not, Knott's Berry Farm is still there in California. Okay. So George Wendt, I'll start with his biography. He was born in Chicago, October 17, 1948. He lived in the Beverly area, not too far from me. Let's see. Let's get his personal life. Yeah, so he grew up in a big family. Yeah, here it is. So his father's name was George, and his father was an officer in the U.S. Navy, and he was a realtor. And there were 9 kids, 6 sisters, 2 brothers. Yeah. I remember seeing his brother in the newspaper. I think he was like captain of the Chicago Fire Department. I could be wrong. Okay. Their grandfather was photographer Tom Howard. And he was a very famous photographer in the 1920s, like during Prohibition, like that. Anyway, so he went to high school in Wisconsin. I don't know how that happened. And then he attended University of Notre Dame. He left. Didn't do very well. Then he went to college in Kansas City, and then he graduated in 1971. And then he started Second City in 1975, right after college, and he was there for quite a while. And he met his future wife, Bernadette Burkett, over there. And let's see, what movies did he start in the beginning? His first movie was called A Wedding. I think I remember that was with Carol Burnett. He was a caterer. I want to see that. So I could find him. And then he was in Bronco Billy and also in My Bodyguard, which is filmed here. And Somewhere in Time, and he did Airplane 2, the sequel. This is before Cheers. Also, other movies in the 80s, he was Thief of Hearts, Dreamscape, No Small Affair. I remember that was with John Cryer and Debbie Moore, I think. He was also Fletch. He was in Fletch. Yes, yeah. And he did some movies in the 90s. Okay. Now, television, his first role was Heart to Heart. with Robert Wagner and Stephanie Powers. And then he starred in Soap, Taxi, probably then MASH, he was in there. And then he got the role of his lifetime, Norm Peterson, as Cheers. Norm! I love when do that. He in the beginning, he wasn't well known, but then he got popular. And what he did every day on the show was he'd come into the bar, say some quip, and then just head for the bar and started drinking. Most of the time he did that, so he got paid a lot of money just to, sit on his butt and drink beer at a bar. What a life, so, and he was there from the beginning to the end, from 1982 to 1993. And, at first Cheers was not very popular. It was dead last in the ratings. And then I think about 1984, when the Cosby Show started airing on Thursday nights, and then Family Ties was after that, and then you have Cheers, and then Night Court came later. Yeah, Night Court, and then you have Hill Street Blues, and then LA Law came. So that was a Thursday night powerhouse of shows. They were like the ratings went through the roof, and they were astronomical. And I did watch Thursday nights, during the 80s. I went to DeVry, and then I worked for a little while, during the 80s. And then I watched the Thursday night, TV night was great in the 80s for me. It was Wednesday night, Thursday, and Friday. On Wednesday, I watched Dynasty Hotel. Thursday was that. And then I didn't watch Hill Street Blues. I watched Knots Landing. I've watched the show since the beginning. And then Fridays was Dallas and Falcon Crest. I watched the soaps. That's what I did. I watched with my mom. It was a tradition like that. But I did watch Cheers. I watched Cheers. People always ask me, which the best episode? I mean, which actress was better? You had Shelley Long and Kirstie Alley. I hate to say that, but I had Kirstie Alley. She was more funnier and crazier than her. Diane, that played by Shelley Long. She was kind of annoying, but she was funny. But Shelley Long's a great actress. She's wonderful. Okay, so after Cheers ended, George Wendt did he appeared in a lot of shows. And also he played George Peterson in St. Elsewhere. Remember the hospital show? Also, the Tortellis, that's a spinoff of Cheers. That's Carla's ex-husband. And also Wings. He was in that too. And he continued to appear like that. Yeah, that's great. Like that. In the 2000s, he appeared in Sabrina the Teenage Witch, which I like. He was good in that. It was fast. It was wonderful. Let's see. And let's see what else. Also, he did, I forgot what it's called. I'm not a football fan, but it's, he with the Bears, he did that. And, so that was hilarious. And I think, so, and his character's name was Bob Swirsky. He was the Chicago Superfans. And so it was Bill Swirsky's Superfans. It was a recurring sketch on Saturday Night Live. It featured prominently from one year, like 1991 to 1992. And they would say, "Da Bears, da Bears, da Bears." And it is funny. It really is. And so to me, he's Norm Peterson. He always has been. He was a wonderful man. Not too showy. Also, he was just being himself. That's what was so endearing about him. It really was, and that's wonderful. When I heard he passed away on May 20th, I was kind of sad, because first of all, he was from Chicago and he was so beloved here. And he was a wonderful actor. And it was so sad, and one of my favorite scenes in Cheers is like when he's with Cliff Clavin, and they would just talk. Cliff Clavin would talk about random things that nobody cares. That's how he was. He's like full of trivia like that. Like, so, but I remember one time there was one, before I sign off, I want to tell you one famous episode of Cheers that I found the most hilarious is that he had this woman work for him at his accounting firm. He was an accountant and she was stalking him and she was following him around. And I remember one scene, like he was done with his beer at Cheers, and then he walked out, and she followed him home, and then the scene cuts, and then when he comes back, he's yelling, "Oh, get away from me!" And she's following him. That's hilarious. I love that episode. It's the way he was yelling. He ran like a scared rabbit from her. She looked so meek and not life threatening, but I guess to him she was creepy. So I'm gonna miss him. I think we'll all miss him. He was like part of the family. He really was. Okay. So that's it for this show. I'll do a recap of what I talked about. I talked about the Math Igler's Casino Restaurant that was located at 1627. Get this right? No, 1629 West Melrose Avenue. That was in the Lakeview area in Chicago. Also, I did my tribute to actor George Wendt, who passed away May 20th of this week. We will miss him. Okay, this podcast will be published later on today. Whatever podcasts are available, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Good Pods, Breaker, Overcast, Podbean, whatever podcast app you have on your phone, your tablet. Tap on them, tap follow. You will receive a notification of the latest episode. Also, you can listen to previous episodes. They're all there. Also, be shared on my blog, www.bandchicago.blog. If you go there, the episodes are listed. I think you can subscribe your email. You'll receive a notification of the latest episode, or you can look at the blog if you like. Also, be on my YouTube channel. And again, people ask me, where do I find your podcast? Where do I find your podcast? You can find it on YouTube. Do a search, Band Chicagoland Stories, or my name, Pete Costanis. You click when you get there, click subscribe. You receive a notification. It doesn't cost anything. You can listen to that episode, the latest episode, that is. Excuse me. Also, previous episodes if you like. They're all there. Also, be shared on my social media accounts: Facebook, X, LinkedIn, Reddit, Threads, Blue Sky, Instagram, and TikTok. They'll have the link, and it'll take you right there. If you have any questions, just send me a message, and I'll be happy to help. So I will probably do another podcast tomorrow. We'll see. If not, then Tuesday. See, I got to think of what I want to talk about. So this is Pico. Excuse me. This is Pico Stanis, your host for Van Chicago Stories, the podcast. Thank you for joining me. Today is not a bad day. It's not warm. It's in the 60s, but it's sunny. Yesterday was a gorgeous day, and I went out. So this Memorial Day weekend is going to be kind of cool. I don't know if it'd be ideal for barbecuing. It's a little chilly, but we'll see. Because I like to barbecue, Memorial Day. Okay. So here's bye-bye for me, and here's a little traveling music from our wonderful Chicago legend and great man, Ray Rayner, saying bye, bye, bye. Take care, everyone, and so long.
We have to go. Bye, bye, bye.